Ho, 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 vinyl community. Mr. Rick here once again, and it's not Christmas at your house, but it's Christmas over here. We've got so much to show you these the next few weeks that I just wanted to go ahead and start Christmas a little early. And I don't, most of these Christmas albums, I've got a boatload of Christmas albums. I over the years, you just pick something up and you say, yeah, there's a Christmas album by so-and-so, and the next thing you know, you got 169 of them. Actually, 129. I went ahead and recounted, and it's not 169, it's 129. But still, that's a boatload of Christmas albums. And I thought what we'd do is go through them in alphabetical order by either title of the various artist albums or by the title of the artist. We'll start with the A and B this week. I tried to get C in, but C is 35 albums itself, and it's a little too much. Y'all will be asleep by the time we got to past the letter C. So we'll start out. By the way, this is my buddy Clyde. Say hi, Clyde. Alright, Clyde says happy trails. Here's the first one. This is a various artist album that was put out by the Longines Symphonette Society. And it's called An Old-Fashioned Christmas, and it's got Mel Torme and Brenda Lee and Sammy Kaye. Just basically a various artist album. Longines Symphonette Society was always doing things like that. They did a lot of interesting stuff. They put out a series on Bing Crosby that I still enjoy to this day. And that was An Old-Fashioned Christmas. And if you got an old-fashioned pop Christmas, you gotta have an old-fashioned country Christmas, right? This was put out by Candlelight Music. Candlelight Music in the 70s, but they didn't... Candlelight Music, I don't appreciate their stuff too awful much because they're always sticking different stuff in that doesn't fit. I've got a lot of their stuff that has a lot of no-name artists in it, and when I buy an album like this, I expect to have main brand stuff. But it's got Sonny James and all the country artists of the 60s in it. And it's a fairly good collection. When you went into the Firestone place, or even some of the gas stations years ago, you used to be able to pick up the Firestone Christmas album. And this one is Julie Andrews with Andre Previn arranging. And I remember at the gasoline stations we used to go, and they did. If you spend X number of dollars for an oil change or something, they give you a free Christmas album. And this is one of the few of them that I got by the fine folks at Firestone. Julie Andrews. She lost her voice. She doesn't sing anymore because she can't. When she had an operation, I understand, and lost that part of her. But here's Herb Alpert's Christmas album. It's a pretty good album. I like this album. It's got all the standards on it, the Christmas song, and Let It Snow, and Jingle Bell Rock, and Winter Wonderland, and everything. And I'm not even sure when this one came out. I think it was back in the early 70s, but that's a good compilation from not compilation, but a good Christmas album from Herb Alpert. And you remember this lady, I beg your pardon, I Didn't Promise You a Rose Garden. That's her massive hit from 1970. And this is Lynn Anderson's Christmas album. And her hit on this one was Ding-a-Ling the Christmas Bell. I remember when that came out back in the early 1970s, I think. And that's Lynn Anderson's Christmas album. Then we come up to a fella by the name of Eddie Arnold. This one's from 1962. And Eddie had been popular in the 40s and had put out Christmas songs in 78 RPM. And him and Chet Atkins got together and they decided to put out a Christmas album in 1962. And basically just re-recorded all the Christmas songs he'd recorded back in the 40s and early 50s. This is an original 1962. They went back with all his record albums and released everything that he had put out with different photographs on it. And when I was growing up, we had one of those re-releases, but this is the original 1962 Christmas with Eddie Arnold. And for the fabulous guitar players, you can't beat this one. This is a good album also. I grew up with this album, Christmas with Chet Atkins. he does an excellent job with the Anita Carr singers, and what can you say? I mean, a great guitar player, Chet is, and he does a great job with the Christmas album, for this Christmas album. This is from 1961, and one of his best. He put out a couple more, but I don't have any more from Chet. It's the only one I've got for him, and I'm happy with that. Mr. Christmas himself, Gene Autry, he of course was responsible for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And this one has Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on it, and all the classics. Santa Claus is coming to town, Silver Bells, Here Comes Santa Claus. But he was famous for that. Also, he was famous for Peter Cottontail also, back around 1950. Old Gene, Christmas time. Got another one from him also. Here's the original Gene Autry sings Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And this is basically him talking about Rudolph. And it's basically a children's Christmas album, but it's got some good Christmas songs on it also. And good one from old Gene there, Gene Autry. Into the B's we go. Letter B. To Wish You a Merry Christmas, Harry Belafonte. He cramps his style. He doesn't do calypso on this. As a matter of fact, it's very low key. Very slow, most of it, with an orchestra behind it. But back in 1958, when this album was produced, Christmas was still taken very seriously, especially among artists, and they don't. He takes this very seriously. This is not the Belafonte style that I grew up with, but it's still a good low-key Christmas album. This is an original 1958 issue. And a fella I never get tired of, this is Tony Bennett and his Christmas album. I'm not sure when this album came out. I think it's a reissue. It says it was recorded in London, England, though. And I'm not even sure who the orchestra is on. It's a no-name, Robert Famous, I guess is his name, the orchestra conductor. But Tony does a good job on this. This is one of his Christmas albums. Snowfall is the big hit on it. And We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and just a whole bunch of different, here's the back of it. Another good Christmas album from Tony. If you're a Pat Boone fan, we've got his Christmas album. This is from 1959. Pat Boone sings White Christmas, and I'll Stay Fidelis, and God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, and a lot of the Christmas classics. He does do Jingle Bells, but and Santa Claus is Coming to Town on this also. But most of these are hymns that he sings, but it's also a very good good album, and can't go wrong with Pat Boone. This is original 1959 on the Dot record label. And last but not least, Boston Pop's Christmas Party. This also is a very good Christmas album. He does a Christmas festival on this thing, which is 8 minutes and 41 seconds long. And the way he does it, he incorporates Joy to the World, Deck the Halls, Good King Wenceslas, or whatever the name was, and God Rest You Jerry, and just a bunch of Christmas classics into 8 minutes and 41 seconds with the jam, and does an excellent job on it. He does a good job on the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers also. This is a good one. I always enjoyed that picture on the front of it also. This is his Christmas Party from 1959. And that takes care of the first two letters of the alphabet. And we'll come back next week with the letter C, because there's about 30 albums in that one that I want to show you. And until we meet you again, this is Rick Tyler and Clyde saying, if good Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise, we'll see you before long.